James Marlow, you're very welcome to the programme. How are you this morning?
Well, it's a very tough time, and it's going to be a very tough time. Just last night, I was looking over the videos of what occurred just over a week ago, and seeing as a lot of news networks around the world is focusing very much on Gaza, I just wanted to bring it back to exactly how this all started. It was just over 2,000 Hamas terrorists crossed the border into Israel from Gaza. They attacked kibbutzim, they attacked villages and towns. There was a small Israeli base over there. They maimed, they raped, they burnt, they killed, they shot. Some of the video that I watched last night was just people running up the street, and yet they were gunned down. And when the other Hamas people came from the other end, they just made sure that they were dead by just shooting them. It was like watching some type of a mafia Hollywood movie, as opposed to it happening in real life.
And we heard from an eyewitness earlier on, James, who was caught up in the attack, whose friend has been kidnapped by Hamas, that actually within the situation he was in, there were some Hamas terrorists who were wearing Israeli army uniforms. They are sophisticated and brutal and horrendous in the original attack that sparked all this off. But of course the question now comes to how Israel should retaliate and what they're planning by land, sea and air, possibly in the next 24, 48 hours. How do you think things move on from here?
Well, let me just pick up on what you just said right at the beginning over there. So again, my friend's daughter's fiance was down there. He was somebody who was driving. Actually, I'm so sorry, it was his friend. He was somebody who was shot dead. A friend of mine in London, his son, who heard about this last Saturday, he got word from a security point of view, went down there with a group. They were shot in the head. He is now lying in a coma. The videos that you've picked up, the first thing that just came to mind was people got in their cars. They were gunned down in their cars when they were running. This is from the music festival. A woman was driving. Somebody was filming from the back. The passenger was actually saying, "Keep driving, don't stop." And she said, "I want to stop, I want to stop." They look like Israeli officers further down. They'd gunned down some people in the car. They were wearing those uniforms. And the boyfriend, or the male companion next to her, said, "Keep your foot down, keep going, keep going."
Yeah.
As the car went past, the camera was still on these people. They actually aimed at them. And I don't know why the gun didn't go off. I've talked about this before, and it could be that maybe the gun jammed and they got away. I mean, this is really what took place. And again, if I can just add, Israel captured dozens and dozens of Palestinian terrorists, and they've interrogated them. And they asked them, "What was your objective?" And they said, "Our objective was to simply kill, to rape, to burn, and to behead." They used those words.
Yeah.
So, answer to the second part of your question, the objective of Israel now is to, instead of having this take place every single 6 months or 9 months, hundreds, thousands of rockets launched from civilian areas in Gaza, across the road from a hospital, down the road from a school, amongst these built-up areas where kids obviously play. They're not playing in their living rooms upstairs in these tall buildings. They're playing on the street. They're being fired into civilian areas. And this has been going on since 2009. Of course, as we know, we're in 2023. This atrocity that took place just over, 9 days ago. This is worse if you compare population figures, because Israel has a population of 10 million. If you compare America's worst attacks, of course, 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, put those together, it doesn't come anywhere close to what unfolded in Israel in terms of population figures. It was 10 times as worse, because I worked out the figures. So the objective now is to rid Gaza of Hamas and its infrastructure, hence this massive bombardment taking place in Gaza City. Now, the problem that Israel troops have is that all those underground tunnels, the bunkers, are going all the way south. That's where the fighters are, and they're waiting for the Israelis to come in. A lot of the news networks are currently saying it's imminent. It's going to happen in the next 24 hours, in the next few hours. I'm not so sure. We don't know what's happening right now. The Israelis are not going to send in their soldiers, the people that I know, and I've spoken to even this morning and yesterday evening. They're not going to send in the soldiers until they're pretty clear that they've actually got a lot of these tunnels out of the way. Hence, they're asking the civilians to go down south. Now, we've also heard, and I just tweeted this out about 15 minutes ago, from the IDF, they're making telephone calls, as the news networks are showing, that they're dropping literally 1 million plus leaflets to say, leave the area. There was somebody on the telephone who said that our keys for the cars are being taken away. This is somebody, a resident in Gaza City. Our keys are being taken away. Our ID cards are being taken away. If they can get down to the south, and the Egyptians will allow them to cross the Rafah crossing into Egypt itself. And of course, Egypt is very concerned about its security, hence it's still closed. So we know that Hamas, and this is what they've done, this is what they've been doing for many, many, many years. They're stopping the people flee for an obvious reason, and that is to bump up the numbers in terms of civilian casualties. But their people are on top, they're underneath.